Hey, it's Lynn. Eubulides of Miletus is an ancient Greek philosopher who was born in the 4th century BC and was a member of the Megarian school of philosophy in Athens and was renowned as the inventor of 7 logical forms of paradoxes. The most famous one, which is the heap, the lyre, the masked man, the Electra, the overlooked man, the bald man, and the horns. These paradoxes were very well known in ancient times. Some are alluded to by Eubulides, contemporary Aristotle, and even partially by Plato. Aulus Gellius mentions how the discussion of such paradoxes was considered for him an after-dinner entertainment, while Seneca, on the other hand, considered them a waste of time, saying, "Not to know them does no harm, and mastering them does no good."
Hi, my name is Dania Qutaqi, and we're going to talk about Sorites Paradox. Sorites Paradox, in short, it is a puzzle that is generated by vague terms or terms with no clear boundaries. The word Sorites itself comes from the Greek language, which means pile or heap. This paradox can actually be exemplified by if we assume that 1 grain of sand is not a heap, and if we assume that adding this 1 grain of sand to something that is not a heap will not produce a heap, then based on these 2 premises, we will never actually get a heap. But in reality, this is wrong. We do get a heap. So the question is, at what point do we stop considering this grain of sand as a non-heap and start considering it as a heap instead? This way of thinking can be used in multiple situations. For example, when do we consider a person to be rich, or bold, or tall? Where is the cut-off point, and who gets to decide it?
Hi, my name is Rashed Alqaisi. Different formulations of the paradox. For any argument to be considered as a Sorites paradox, it must meet 3 conditions. The Sorites series must apply to the predicate in question. If one takes the predicate to be wealthy, then money would be used to develop the series. The tolerance of the term should also be tested. That is, neighboring values, which are slightly different, should be used to assess the vagueness of the main variable. Third, the predicate must be true for the first value in the series and false for the last. To take an example, 1 sheep does not make a flock. 2 sheep do not make a flock. Therefore, 1 million sheep also do not make a flock. Many mathematical formulations have come into light to explain or more clearly present the paradox. The most common presentation of this paradox comes in the form of modus ponens. This rule of logic states that if a man with 1 hair is bald implies that a man with 2 hairs is bald, then a man with any amount of hairs is also bald. Other formulations of this paradox have come in the forms of mathematical inductions and inductive reasoning. These have come to explain that a certain line must and must not be drawn to showcase what is and what is not.
But enough of the semantics. Get this. The effect that one small change can have when repeated enough times is compounded. That's what this means. We could apply this to habits in our daily life even. Can one tiny change transform your whole life? It's unlikely you would say so. But what if you made another, and another, and another? At some point, you'd have to admit that your whole life was changed by one small change. It was transformed by this one small change. You see, The holy grail of habit change is not just a single 1% improvement. It's 100, maybe even 1,000. When you look at the Sorites Paradox this way, you'd realize its deep but seemingly subtle involvements in the fields of physics and chemistry. It is not the action or reaction of one atom or molecule. It is the compounded actions of all the molecules surrounding it as well, and everything around it, that give rise to that change. So maybe we shouldn't look at the paradox from a silly problem of semantics. We should take inspiration from what it might truly represent. Your seemingly insignificant vote in elections, your judgmental stance on everything going around in the world, or even the tweet you put out yesterday cursing Trump and the coronavirus. All of these have an effect, no matter how small, but incremental and effective in the long run. The message I want to leave you with today is, if we long for change, we must act. No matter how seemingly small our actions can be, whether it's the vote, whether it's the small judgment you give, whether it's stating out what's right and wrong, all of these make a difference. Someone out there will hear your voice and will be amplified if you are speaking the truth.
So what's the bottom line? It is a bunch of atomic habits stacking up, and each one is a fundamental unit of the overall system. They don't aggregate, they compound. So, is Sorites Paradox really a paradox? Does it force us, for example, to question the soundness of mathematical induction? No. But what it does do is highlight one of the many complexities that rise when we attempt to map statements in spoken languages to the language of formal logic. It is a link between applied humanitarian sciences, and it's one of the ways we use mathematics and science to answer questions relating to philosophy.